Steve Austin.
Have you ever wondered why Stone Cold is Stone Cold? Do you know how Kofi Kingston chose his in-ring name? How about Eugene? Remember him? Do you know the story about that name choice? Every superstar has an in-ring name origin story. Some are interesting, symbolic, complex. Others, not so much. Today we're diving into the captivating stories behind the in-ring names of some of our favorite wrestlers. But before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon to never miss another round of wrestling history. Now let's get started. Roman Reigns. When asked about the origins of his name on an episode of Talk is Jericho, Roman said, "I knew I wanted Roman, but I wanted Roman only, and they were like, no, you need a last name." There was a guy in FCW called Kelvin Reigns. He spelled it like rain, like a raindrop. But unfortunately they released him and Roman Reigns sounded good to me. Reigns then went on to talk about how Corey Graves approached him about the spelling. What if you spelled it like Reigns, like a king reigns? Roman liked Graves' idea, and that's how he ended up debuting as Roman Reigns on the main roster. Johnny Gargano. Oh, wait until you hear this one. His real name is John Gargano, so we changed the John to Johnny. How crazy is that? Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston is originally from Ghana, and he wanted a name that reflected his heritage. Kofi is a common Akan name in Ghana, so he chose it as a nod to his African roots. Kingston was chosen as a nod to the Jamaican city, a place known for its vibrant culture and reggae music scene.
Strongest athlete. Kool-Aid. Kofi Kingston.
Becky Lynch. When asked about her in-ring name, Becky Two Belts said, "They wanted something associated with my real name, Rebecca. So I became Becky." Two of the names that came back to me were Becky Lynch and Madeline. The men didn't like Madeline, thank God, so she decided to go with the first option, which, let's be real, it was definitely the right choice. Adam Cole. Baby! His real name is Austin, but his parents were set on Cole until they changed it at the last minute, and that's why he chose Cole as his wrestling surname. As to Adam, he chose it because he didn't want to use his real name Austin, because there's so many Austins in wrestling. Austin Aries, Steve Austin, etc. He decided it was better to pick something else. Alexa Bliss. Alexa was derived by her real name Alexis. When asked about the name Bliss, she said, "It was one of the names that I pitched. I was playing around with being a Southern Belle type character in NXT and always say, 'Bless your heart.' For a Southern woman to say that, I used an insulting tone. Then it ended up as Bliss your heart. It became a play on words with a bad connotation." Everyone's favorite role model, Bayley. When deciding her in-ring name, she didn't want to make it sound too girly, so she suggested names like Bobby and Jordan. Now, one of the suggestions she got from WWE was Bayley with an I, and she didn't like that one at all. But she only really had like 2 other choices and she didn't like those names either, so she decided to go with it and spell it B-A-Y, because she's actually from Bay Area. It sounded cool and it had meaning to her. Fortunately, she ended up changing her initial opinion, and now she loves the name. Chris Jericho. Y2J has discussed the process behind his in-ring name choice in multiple interviews and podcasts. Chris was a natural fit, being an abbreviated form of his real name Christopher. Jericho, on the other hand, was because he loves the album Walls of Jericho by the band Halloween. The Ayatollah of rock and roller, baby. CM Punk.
I wonder what CM stands for. They got the punk part right.
The name CM Punk has been a subject of curiosity for many fans. For years, many people thought that CM stood for Chicago Made. In interviews, he's explained that CM originally stood for Chick Magnet, a nickname given to him during his time in the Indies. The name Punk was chosen due to his anti-establishment character and attitude, and also because he likes the music genre, and also because, he's a punk. Stone Cold. Before he became a cultural icon, Austin had wrestled with several names, but the character that brought him to the spotlight was Stone Cold. The name originated during a conversation with his then wife when he was drinking tea. Wait, hold up, who wrote this script? What do you mean tea? Yeah, right. What are you gonna tell me next? Kurt Angle doesn't drink milk every meal? Anyway, Austin was letting the tea grow cold, and she said, it was stone cold. The phrase struck a chord with him, and the straightforward expression was a good fit for his no-nonsense gimmick. Who would have guessed this candid conversation turned into one of the most iconic names in wrestling history? The Rock.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
The Rock has become a household name globally. Initially wrestling under his own name, Dwayne Johnson underwent a shift to distinguish himself in the ring. During a conversation with his mentor Pat Patterson, DJ was encouraged to amplify his natural charisma and create a larger-than-life persona, inspired by his father Rocky Johnson's legacy and wanting a name that conveyed strength. The Rock was born. Undertaker. The name Undertaker encapsulates the eerie and iconic character of Mark Calaway in WWE. The creation of the name was a collaborative effort between Calaway and WWE's creative team. His initial name, Kane the Undertaker, was then shortened to simply The Undertaker. The name Undertaker was born out of brainstorming sessions that aimed to find an enigmatic and mystifying name for the character. The character's appearance with a mortician-like attire and supernatural presence perfectly aligned with the name, creating an aura of darkness and mystery that fans found both captivating and chilling. Dolph Ziggler. After being a male cheerleader called Nikki, he would then return to Raw as Dolph Ziggler. However, he nearly went by as David Diggler. On Lillian Garcia's podcast Chasing Glory, Dolph told her he got a call informing him he would be going on TV as David Diggler. The show-off didn't feel the Diggler name would fit into the reality hour of WWE, and management told him he had 15 minutes to come up with something different. In case you're wondering what was going inside his mind, he had a great-grandfather named Rudolph, and thought of Dolph Lundgren from Rocky IV. So, he called back and said Dolph, but asked to scrap the Diggler name. When he got to Raw, he was handed with a slip of paper with the name Dolph Ziggler. He later saw Vince McMahon and told him Dolph Ziggler sounded too cartoonish, but the boss told him he loved it, and it sounded different. Daniel Bryan. On Talk as Jericho, when Bryan was asked why his name was changed from Bryan Danielson, which is his birth name and the name he used while competing in the Indies, Bryan said it was because WWE wanted to own the rights to his name. WWE asked him for a list of 10 names, and he also confirmed that William Regal was the person who came up with his new in-ring name. During the podcast, he told Jericho he had some pretty outlandish names suggested because he wanted to be known as Bryan Danielson. Hey, you want to know what his favorite was? Buddy Peacock. Because he liked the idea that fans could either chant Buddy or Peacock. Seth Rollins. Oh look!
Rollins going for everything he's got!
Another Ring of Honor star who had their name changed when signed by the WWE. It's all about that trademark, baby! Tyler Black had developed a reputation as one of the best wrestlers on the indies. A catchy name that you can tell fits the guy just by looking at him. But the WWE loves to trademark the names of its superstars, so they decided to change his name. In his words, Seth Rollins is a little bit of a nod to an idol of mine, Henry Rollins. He's the leader of one of my favorite bands, Black Flag. Seth is just a name that I like. Kelly Kelly. Kelly Kelly explained in an interview how she got her infamous ring name. Her first day, her name was supposed to be Kelly. Then a week later, Vince had a superb idea. Let's call her Kelly Kelly. Let's just give her 2 first names. We've never done that before. Genius. Ladies and gentlemen, the genetic jackhammer, Kane. The name Kane was derived from biblical lore, with references to the story of Cain and Abel. This name choice was tied to the storyline involving the sibling rivalry between Kane and The Undertaker, creating a haunting and formidable persona and marking his presence as an enigmatic and intimidating force in wrestling. Pretty cool if you ask me. The Hurricane. Shane Helms adopted the persona of the Hurricane in a unique way. The character was born out of a joke in a conversation with fellow wrestlers. He jokingly said he'd love to enter a Royal Rumble as a superhero, to which Stone Cold replied, "Well, like some kind of hurricane?" The name stuck and Shane Helms embraced the idea, creating the character of the Hurricane, a superhero-like figure with a mask and a comedic yet endearing personality. Jon Moxley. Before AEW existed and before he joined WWE, Dean Ambrose was Jon Moxley on the Indies. Moxley has openly discussed his inspiration for the name during multiple podcast appearances. That name was given to me before one of my first matches when I was 18. I was put in a stoner football player comedy act to get my feet wet. I didn't even know I was going to have my first match that day. Moxley thought his only responsibility at that show in 2004 was to sell popcorn and soda, until someone looked at him and said, "Hey, you're going to be in the 3rd match." He quickly got dressed for his debut, but he had one problem. He didn't have a name. Literally minutes before I went out, they said, "Come up with a name." And I totally froze up. I couldn't think of anything. One of the guys in the locker room said, "Hey, who's the guy from Varsity Blues? Jonathan Moxley? Be him." But the guy screwed up his name. He was Jonathan Moxon. And that's how it started. It's completely random, but it works. Especially because you can shorten it to Mox. That's a pretty cool story. Shout out to the guy who got that name wrong. I can't really imagine Justin Roberts announcing, Eugene. Nick Dinsmore played the character of Eugene, a lovable yet somewhat controversial character. The character was portrayed as a mentally challenged yet lovable and innocent wrestler, invoking both controversy and affection from fans and critics alike. However, what many fans don't know is that the name Eugene was a tribute to his real-life uncle who had Down syndrome. Yep, right in the feels. And that's a wrap, folks. We hope you learned something new today watching this video. After all, we're all about educational content and the occasional use of barbed wire during a wrestling match. Which of these in-ring name origin stories surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to smash that like button, share this video, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories about the WWE. See you soon!